Professor Emeritus at Harvard Law School, Alan Dershowitz, joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And going back to November when this case was argued and listening to the questions of the justices, sometimes we're fooled, but for the most part, we had a pretty good idea what they were going to rule today. What do you think?
Well, I thought that the lawyers for Trump made the wrong argument to the Supreme Court, and I predicted they were going to lose based on their argument. Look, if you argue that it's a fundraising activity by Congress, of course you're going to lose. The Article 1 of the Constitution says that duties and taxes can be imposed only by Congress, and Congress can delegate that authority to the president. But if you argue that tariffs can be a weapon of foreign policy, a weapon of diplomacy, a weapon of preventing war, then it's an Article 2 power of the president, and Congress has no power to limit it. And so I think what the president has said in his press conferences today is that, whoops, we may have gone under the wrong statute, and maybe we have no power under that statute, but I want to prevent a war with Iran, and so I'm going to impose a very, very steep sanction on Iran, not to raise money, but to stop a war. I'm going to have a big tariff on who knows, in order to make sure that they comply with the foreign policy of the United States. Turn this into an Article 2, not an Article 1 function, and it becomes within the president's power, and I think he can still do it within limits. There are things he can't do. He can't tax or impose a duty without congressional delegation. But he can use the tariff as a foreign policy and military and diplomatic weapon without authority from Congress, and that's what I think he's going to do.
Well, in what you say, if I can distill it a little bit, is that he's furious at the Supreme Court, calling him all sorts of names, disgrace to our nation, not loyal, et cetera, et cetera. But he would be more rightfully angry at his lawyers who advised him. You know, he's a businessman, he's not a lawyer, and I mean, I think he has a right to rely on his legal counsel. But I mean, they're the ones that bungled this.
Obviously, you have to go to Congress and make the argument about Congress and did they authorize this under this emergency act or Smoot-Hawley or this act or that act. It was the wrong approach. Right from the beginning, they should have made the broad constitutional argument. This is an Article 2 power. Everybody agrees that foreign policy and diplomacy and preventing wars is within the authority of the president. And we all know now that President Trump has been using tariffs in two different ways. One, obviously, to raise money for the United States. He brags about it. He boasts about how much money he made. That power he doesn't have without authorization from Congress. But the power to use tariffs to punish, to threaten, to deter, to be part of foreign policy, that's within the presidency. And so, yeah, I think that I wouldn't get angry at his lawyers. I would say, go back to the drawing board now. Give me executive authority to impose these kinds of things. You don't even have to call them a tariff. Call them whatever you want. Call them a sanction. Call them a financial penalty. Call them whatever you want. Just give me the power to use these things in order to implement policy. And we know that's being done. We know that happened with China. We know it happened in the India-Pakistan war. The president said that today. He said he stopped the war between India and Pakistan by threatening sanctions against both of them. If that's not an Article 2 power, I don't know what is. So I think the president has a better sense of this than his lawyers do.
Well, but going back a little bit to the tariffs, I mean, if you have a tariff like on candle, let's say on I don't know, on lumber, is that the tariff? People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.